What is it like being a Jamaican living in Mexico? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, founder of Jamaicans.com. And today I talk to Shamar Edwards, a Jamaican living in Mexico. Hi, Shamar, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Xavier. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right, man. Good having you on board. Good having you on board. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from in Jamaica, and then we can get into how you got to live in Mexico.
Okay, well, a little bit about my background. I'm a seasoned wealth advisor. I've been a partner or senior partner at my company for about 10 years, but I've been in the industry for over 20 years. And I was actually born in a small town in Jamaica called Coleville. Coleville is located next to Christiana, which is in Manchester. And I was born in Jamaica, second of twins. My mother was not expecting me when I was born because she thought she was only gonna have one baby.
Oh wow. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
she thought she
So
was gonna have one baby.
so tell us a little bit about how you got to Mexico.
Well, actually, so I grew up in New York City for most of my college and school life, and after New York, I went back to Jamaica to take a position with the Embassy of Brazil, where I was basically in trade and economics there and helped to facilitate trade between the two countries. But I kind of got a little bored with Jamaica and I wanted to just explore a little bit. So I took some trips to different countries, found Mexico. And honestly, when I arrived in Mexico, and I really arrived on the Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Cozumel side, and I fell in love with the country. I said, "Wow, this has a good feeling to it. I want to be here. I want to I want to see what life would be living here." I saw all the stores. They had everything. They had all the fancy stuff, and I love the food. So I decided I would make a transition. So I set up a role with my company so I can move here and start the next day. And so far, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life to come to Mexico.
So what city are you in Mexico?
I'm in Mexico City. It's one of the
Oh,
largest cities in the whole hemisphere. It's probably is the largest city in the whole hemisphere, probably comparing to Rio de Janeiro, in terms of people. And yeah, this is a very dynamic city. It reminds me of New York City in the '90s, where we have different parts of the city considered almost like boroughs in New York, and they all have a different vibe, a different flavor, and it's about 24 or 28 million people here in the city, so it's huge.
wow. That's a big city.
Yeah. Lots of traffic, lots of traffic.
So tell me a little bit about work life balance there in Mexico and in Mexico City.
Well, yeah, for me, it's I'm a very busy person. I have two assistants who manage my calendar and my agenda, and they make sure that my life isn't too complicated. I'm as a financial advisor, I'm meeting a lot of clients and prospects every single day, at least 4 to 6, maybe sometimes 10 meetings, and then I go to conferences. Sometimes I give speeches, and also I'm the president of the Jamaican Association here in Mexico, which I started. It's called JAMLAT, which stands for the Jamaican Association for Mexico and Latin America, where I pretty much founded this association back in April, May of this year. And as the president, I have about 100 plus Jamaicans in my association, where we have a mandate from the Embassy of Jamaica here to not only grow and to spread the culture, to influence tourism to Jamaica, but also to unify the people and to celebrate our culture here in Mexico and to share
Wow.
it. Mhm.
Wow. How old is the association?
It just started. We just started this. We had an inauguration on the 24th of May this year, and actually I've been here for almost 10 years. So I've had many different ambassadors always ask me to start an association, and I think it was thanks to Ambassador Julia Hyatt, which is the current ambassador here. She encouraged me very well to start this association, and I took it upon myself to do this. But I can tell you, this isn't the first organization that I've led. You know,
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, you seem like you're a busy man.
Yeah, the work-life balance. Like I once was a founder of a Rotary Club here in Mexico City, which is the only English-speaking club in Mexico. And I founded it with one of the top Rotarians in the world before he passed. His name was Frank Devlin. But apart from that, a very interesting part is I actually started a black community here in Mexico City, which is called Melaninires, and it currently has about 650 members who we just it's basically for black people that live in Mexico. When I first came before COVID, you couldn't find a black person for the month. You couldn't bump into someone on the street who was black. So every time I did, I would kind of put them in my group, and and then we would have events together. We would call them blackouts originally, and and then we would get together and celebrate our music, our culture, eat food
Wow,
together, and over the years it's grown very strong. I remember I even threw events like kind of parties or collaborations, and we would even have about 2,000 people come show up to our events because Mexicans are actually very attracted to our culture. Especially Mexicans are attracted to black culture, but they're also very attracted to Jamaican culture. Um,
wow.
they- yeah.
Tell me, no, tell me about the attraction.
Well, well, you can see it. When I first came to Mexico, I noticed that they have a drink in every store called Agua de Jamaica, Jamaican water.
Yes, yes, I've heard about that drink.
Yes. So when you see it, you're like, okay, what do you know? So you buy it, and then you realize it's the soft, watered down version of sorrel. You
Yes.
know, it's not sorrel. It's like if you take sorrel and you put a bucket of water in there, and it's super watered down without no ginger or anything like that. So they call the hibiscus plant. They call that Jamaica. And also in Mexico City, there's a place called Jamaica. They have a train station, and in
Really?
that yeah, in that train station, I think there's a photo of Haile Selassie, and also like they play a lot of dance hall. They play a lot of reggae here, so you can go to different neighborhoods or different environments, and you can see that they have an adoration. But you'll go to a Jamaican party, for example, but you just would never hear the right tunes. You'd hear the right beat, you hear the right rhythm, but they just don't select the songs properly. So
So then, Shamar, are you a selector now too?
no, no, no. I try not to deal with too much entertainment.
But
I
sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
So I don't really have a big entertainment background. I'm a networker. I bring the people together, and
Right,
they
right.
have babies and they do things.
Well, congrats on forming the association there, and also on that Black association that you formed there. Congrats on all of that. I mean, you've accomplished quite a lot there. Now, I'm gonna get nosy and say, where do you find time for friends, right? Apart from networking there, and you and I kind of communicated. You have a love life, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But where do you find time?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time with friends. I might have a very small circle of friends, and for me, I'm more about building up, my personal life, and just growing in my professional life. So I have friends that are clients. I have friends that are I meet people all the time. It's interesting to me when you go to a new country, that's when you find friends at the beginning. But once you're there for a while, it's actually harder to find new friends. You meet new people, but they don't necessarily become friends. So I would say within my first 2 years, I have those kind of people that I met at the initial 2 years that are still in my life, or they'll
Close.
call back up and be close. But I'm not hanging out with friends every day. Like you said, I have a love life, so
Well,
I'm
well, congrats on that. You have a fiance, a former Miss Mexico.
Miss
Uh,
Miss
yeah.
Mexico City.
Oh, Miss
Miss
Mexico
Mexico.
City, a
Yes,
former
yeah.
Miss Mexico City. So
Mhm.
congrats on that. And maybe you come back. I have another series called Married to a Jamaican. Maybe once that wedding happens, I'm not pushing the wedding now, not pushing it to the wedding now, but maybe then you come back with her and we have that conversation on the culture.
Yeah, please take it easy on me. Take it easy on me. No, and actually, my fiance is Miss. She was Miss Mexico City in 2022. But she actually had a very strong affinity for the Jamaican culture. So before I met her, she already danced dance hall. She knew all the dance hall songs. She could sing a Buju song from front to back. And she had a big affinity for the culture. We took a trip to Jamaica recently, and she got to know the real Jamaica, and she's in love with it. No, she fell in love with ackee and saltfish, for example.
So on the food, where do you get your fix? Because now that you have formed this, as there's an association there, and where you getting their food? Your Jamaican food, that is.
I know you have you asked a really good question, because there are Jamaican restaurants in a lot of different states in Mexico, and we recently had one open about 2 years ago in Mexico City. It's called Te Amo Jamaica, which means I love Jamaica, and that's where I would get my fix. I would go to them, and the owners are very close friends of mine. They are actually on my board in JAMLAT, and they have the best Jamaican food. So I go there literally 2 or 3 times a week. But in the last month and a half, they've been relocating to a new place. So I'm on withdrawals right now. And they opened on Sunday. They opened this Sunday. They invited me to the VIP opening, and I'm gonna be there and get my fix, which I desperately need.
So, which Mexican foods do you give me one or two that you love?
Food that I love, I love Jamaican food, but I love Mexico has an extraordinary culinary industry. So it's a lot to choose from. They have a lot of different foods. One of my favorite is called the tlayuda, which is from Oaxaca, and it's amazing food that they have. It's almost what you call like a Mexican pizza, and you got to try it to know it, because it's not similar to what you've seen in the past. And then also, they have such a diverse cuisine here, so you can get any different type of food. They really just don't know Jamaican food, but they know pretty much every different type of food. So in Mexico City, you can stick to Mexican food, or you can choose to eat any different type of food that you like. So I love tacos as well. Tacos are incredible. I mean, but it's not like one thing is that when a Jamaican, like we had who we had here, Capleton come here. Him and his band came here about 4 years ago, and I met with them, and they said, what is what's this little taco thing? Can't full belly off of this. And but one thing is for sure, that tacos are filling. I came here with When I saw a taco, I said, oh, this I'll eat 20 of these. At the third or fourth one, I was like, no more. I can't take it anymore, because it's a different type of full. It's a different type of filling.
I hear you. I hear
Right.
you. Tell us a little bit about culture people. What do you absolutely love about the people, Mexican people?
Well, what I love about Mexican people is that they have a culture. well, first, the culture is very strong, the history is very strong, and they keep it active. They protect and preserve their history and their culture, but also that family is one of the key values that Mexicans have here. And so when you meet people, they literally say, "Hey, look, I gotta call my mom," or like it's not about independence here. It's more of a family centric place, and you can see the differences in society when that takes place. A lot of people have a thought process that Mexico might be dangerous, but it's actually not dangerous at all. It's very family centric. In my job, for example, I've always had to ask people when I meet them, "Are you married? Or do you have kids?" And I can tell you that 9 out of 10 times, if somebody says they have kids, then they're married. Is no separation there. Like usually, if you have kids here in
You're married.
Mexico, you are married. So I saw that, and that opened my eyes because I came from a little different society there.
So obviously you probably have learned 10 years, right? So you probably have learned the language now.
Well, I spoke Spanish since I was 8 years old.
Oh,
I Yeah, I love the language. I grew up in New York City for a lot of my life, so a lot of my friends were from different Spanish-speaking countries, and I took an interest in different languages, and I learned Spanish when I was 8. I also learned Portuguese when I worked with the embassy of Brazil. So I actually love to learn different languages, and it's different from learning it textbook to coming into the country and speaking it with the people, because the textbook is different from real life. But I was fortunate enough to have a strong base of Spanish to be able to do business and get around in Spanish. But for those who are thinking about coming to Mexico and don't speak Spanish, just know that the country is filled with English speakers. A lot of Mexicans, they do convert themselves to speak some English to make sure that you have a good understanding. So even if you don't speak Spanish, you can get along and get by very easily here in the country.
good, good.
Mm.
No, what does your fiance say? Does she say you speak it with an accent, or are you totally integrated where no, you know the nuances and you know the little things here and there?
No, I speak it with accent. There's something you can't get away from. You can't get away from. You speak it. I speak it with an accent, but for example, I gave a class on Saturday, in one of the universities, and even though they were for graduate students and for business entrepreneurs, they still wanted me to speak Spanish with them, and I gave about 80% of the class in Spanish, and everyone was happy and they all understood me. But that's because I've gotten used to the vernacular. I've gotten used to how you speak Spanish. But my fiance would tell you that I don't know the small curse words, or the small words to get the street terminology, and I got a lot to learn there.
You're the formal type, you know.
Yeah.
So, is it difficult for a Jamaican um, passport holder to work and live in Mexico?
No, it's not. And actually, because I have a group of 700 Black people, I can tell you that a lot of people come here. In Mexico, for a Jamaican passport holder, you can arrive in Mexico and they'll give you the visa upon arrival. Usually, that's a 60-day visa. I mean, sorry, six-month visa. Excuse me. So you can stay here up to 6 months, but usually, um, you have to have your return ticket. I don't even think they'll let you leave Jamaica without your return ticket, if you're visiting. So you can easily come here and visit. You can see the pyramids. You can see different monuments and things that Mexico has to offer. So all you need to do is buy a plane ticket, a return flight, and you can come to Mexico, and you can see all the sites. It's all available for you.
All right. What's the from a medical perspective? What is it like? Have you have your regular doctor there, or are you traveling back somewhere for your doctor, or how is it there?
No, Mexico is known for its strong medical industry. Actually, I think a lot of Americans who come down into Mexico just to get medical care because it's very very affordable, and you can find really good doctors here. In terms of health insurance, for example, I've always had international insurance. Now I have more local and international insurance, but I think that might be a more difficult one to get the insurance. But yes, the medical, I don't even think you need insurance because it's so affordable.
All right. Biggest adjustment. What was, 10 years ago when you first got there? What was that big adjustment?
um, I think the big adjustment was for me, I growing up in America again, there was a strong emphasis on racism and race, and people judge you by your color. But in Mexico, what I received when I first arrived was adoration. Like people were taking pictures of me in the streets. I would go to the museum and people would be taking pictures of me instead of the artifacts, and I thought that was very interesting because they hadn't seen real black people. They've only seen it on TV, but they had a great attitude about it. And for example, if you were trying to go to the club and you stood outside, the security would select you, like, please come in here. We need you in here. So I was adjusted to actually being more favored for my appearance than judged, and then also in my industry, I have to meet top executives, CEOs or directors, and I'm well received. I'm well received and well respected, and that was a kind of a surprise for me.
Okay. Okay. You and I will talk one, don't go, if you go to China, I've told this story before. You're going to get that. People grabbing you to take pictures.
Yeah, yeah. Good thing I don't have no hair because I've heard stories of girls saying that people want to touch their hair and stuff like that. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So what would you say cost of living is like?
Well, I mean, the cost of living in Mexico it depends on where you want to be, honestly, because this society is built on classes, and there's different classes in Mexico, but it's extremely affordable. There's a website that I used before I even came to Mexico called Numbeo, where they can compare the cost of living to different cities in the world, and according to them, Mexico City is 25% cheaper than living in Kingston, and that's excluding rent. So I found it to be very affordable in Mexico nowadays. Ever since 2020, there's been a very big influx of Americans into the city, so it is actually raising cost a little bit. But apart from there, it's very affordable. If you want to live off of tacos, you can live off of tacos all day. And the taco is like the Jamaican beef patty.
Right,
It's just
right.
like one thing you and it's super cheap. So if you want to live like that, you can easily live like that. But also I've seen the higher quality lifestyle where the people that take the helicopters and only
Mhm.
and their taxi is the Mercedes Benz S class. So it's different type of people, different type of societies and communities, and you can fall in where you fit in. I think is open for whoever has that appetite to go wherever you want. You can land exactly there and feel comfortable. You know.
What are some of the things you absolutely love to do there in Mexico?
Well, for me, I like I think we discussed a little bit. I do love to play golf. I'm not the best golfer, but I do find a lot of therapy in it. I love to go to new restaurants, try new chefs. I love to travel within the country because people might think Mexico's small. So sometimes I get a family member that says, "Hey, look, I'm going to Cancun, Shamar. When can I see you?" And I have to tell them that Cancun is a 3 hour flight away. It's not close to me. I got to fly 3 hours away. That's like a vacation for me. So the country is huge, and there's so many states. There's 32 states in Mexico. So I like to go and travel and vacation and experience all these different states. Also, I do teach chess to some children that's less fortunate in my spare time, and I do mentorship, and as a former Rotarian, there's a lot of different initiatives that I've taken to help society. So I always find myself occupied. with something, whether it's to go out and enjoy my fiance, or to help the society in different ways.
All right, all right. Where can people? Again, I know you work for a company, but you might have a handle there. And where can people find you online if they're looking for, maybe financial advice, or they want to follow you and your travels and so on?
Well, I would say the best place to find me for professional advice, it would be on LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn, search my name. I'm not the only Shamar Edwards out there. I've searched. There's a lot of Jamaican Shamars out there. But there's only one that's a big financial advisor, and that's me. So they can go to my LinkedIn. Also, they can they can follow me on Facebook. So and they can go to your Facebook and see me as your friend. So
All right.
they can go and connect with me there. And I don't use much social media, but I do help people a lot. So if they do need to reach me, they can also go to the Instagram for the Jamaican Association, which is the Instagram is at Jamaicans underscore in underscore Latam. So they can find us there as well.
So, folks who are out there planning to go to Mexico or living in Mexico, check out the association that's there. Forum headed by Shamar. Really good initiative. So,
Yes.
what advice would you give to a Jamaican who, or anyone who's thinking of relocating, said, "I want to pick up and I want to live there in Mexico"?
Yeah, I would advise any Jamaican to actually come try visit first, and do your research. Do your research because a lot of people look at America as the place to go, and I think that Mexico is an amazing stop or amazing place to settle. If you research and find the company that would be willing to hire you before you come, or find a place to stay before you come, then it would be easier for you to settle, and I guarantee that you won't be disappointed. You would be impressed by the skyscrapers and the big city lifestyle that this city has to offer. Also, there's a lot of Jamaicans that end up in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, and those places have a lot of Jamaican food. So you wouldn't really be missing anything. It's still sunny, it's still beachy, and
Yes.
you feel like you just took a little transition over. And for those people that are afraid that they won't be able to speak the language, I can assure you that I know tons of Jamaicans and Black people that do not speak the language here.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
they,
right.
they
Well, Shamar, thank you again for taking some time out of your busy day, giving us, telling us your story about you living in Mexico. Here's how I typically end. How do you say goodbye? You can give us a formal way or the informal way. How do you typically say goodbye?
Well, in Mexico, you would say "nos vemos" or you'd say "cuídate," which means take care. "Nos vemos" means see you later, and yeah, or you can say "adios," which is
All
which
right.
is fine as well. But in Mexico, if you're eating at a restaurant and you want to say goodbye, you say "provecho," which means have a good meal. You know,
Oh,
so
provecho. And
yeah,
nos, and what was the other one?
"nos vemos."
Nos vemos. See you
Yeah,
later. All right.
exactly. Yes,
Samar, nos vemos.
"nos vemos."
And thank you again.